the topic that I'm talking about today is to keep the honeymoon alive. And this is very near and dear to me because in my office every day I'm seeing women and patients who are trying to rekindle that romance, who are trying to find ways to, even in some cases, save their marriages. And so as we walk our way through the processes that the brain and the body go through during these complex love relationships, I'm kind of hoping that you'll all learn to cut yourself a little slack. And if you don't know me, I am Katherine Hansen, assistant professor at UTMB in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. I have no disclosures except I am Canadian. And if you hold that against me, you won't be alone. And you'll hear it, I'm sure, in some of the words that I say. This is my husband. And today I'm feeling empowered by Karen to be, this is my Donna, you're seeing up here, and I am Gen X. And I'm going to just take a little moment to tell you of a story that came to mind when Karen was talking to us about Gen X. My husband, who is also Gen X, a little bit younger than me, but still Gen X, and he was listening to one of his mixed tapes from his recorded cassette, and he heard his mom calling him. He was in high school, and he went running downstairs, and he said, "Mom, were you calling me?" She says, "I wasn't calling you." So he went back up, and he did this for several days in a row until he realized he had taped his mom calling him as he pressed play and record, and he thought he was losing his mind. So getting right to it, we all know that feeling of falling head over heels for somebody or madly, passionately in love, love at first sight, that feeling that we want to get again and again. And it's important that we be able to access that feeling, and it may not be exactly the same as we'll learn, but it's important that we can access it. That brings me to monogamy. And in order to understand monogamy, we look at the prairie voles versus the montane voles. Prairie voles are monogamous species. Montane voles are not. What's the difference? Prairie voles have a piece of DNA that codes for the vasopressin receptor. Vasopressin is very important for men. It's excreted in times of physical touch and sexual pleasure, and the prairie moles have this vasopressor receptor gene. When it is injected into the brains of the montane voles, who aren't usually monogamous, they actually change their behavior. They become more nurturing. And in fact, the length of this gene is important in that the longer the DNA that codes for the vasopressin receptor gene, the more nurturing they have. They lick their pups more, they have more stay-at-home dad behavior, they show more preference for their partners. And so we've actually located this gene in humans. It comes in 17 different lengths. And so in the case of this DNA, size really does matter. And in some cases, we're missing the gene altogether. So where did it all begin? Back in the 60s, there were these guys, Masters and Johnson, and they developed this model where there was spontaneous sexual desire, arousal according to this lovely slope, plateau, orgasm, which is just peak in arousal. This is a picture of me out for dinner with my family. It's supposed to be relaxing. I don't know if you can tell, but there's nothing relaxed about how I look here. I have a kid who's dripping popsicles on me. I have a kid back here who's probably watching the TV screen, dancing behind my chair, making a fool of our family. I'm wearing my UTMB scrubs, so I definitely came direct from work, and this one amazes me because he never smiles for a picture. So I'm guessing I've threatened him with his life. We are getting one picture, and then you can go play. And I will tell you that I am not going home after this and having mad, passionate lovemaking with my husband. I'm just barely surviving this evening. Well, they all release oxytocin. And oxytocin is one of those feel-good hormones. Oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, estrogen, and progesterone, basically those are the hormones that are helping us feel good. And the good news is dopamine and serotonin come from the brain and the adrenal glands, and oxytocin from the brain. We don't remove the brain when we do a hysterectomy, so you still all have access to these beautiful, lovely neurotransmitters. And the feeling that you get when something like that is happening to you and you actually engage in it and you actually feel it and you shut your brain down enough to enjoy it is that it's physical, real, and repeatable. Our body will make that medicine for free, and we can do that wherever, whenever we want. So how do we have lasting love? We need to recognize that transition from early love to lasting love. And a lot of that is hardwired. So what happened to us in utero, in infancy, how much nurturing did we get, what were the experiences in our life like? And if you haven't got the hardwiring, you can experience that, that flash, that 6 to 8 months of hormonal early love that's so great. But it's harder to lay down the wiring of a lasting love relationship. And so recognizing that you're transitioning into something deeper and figuring out ways to reignite that brain's romantic circuitry. We know with long-term love, there's less dopamine, there's more critical judgment circuits. Well, thank goodness for that. There's an ongoing ability to release oxytocin, and oxytocin makes us feel fantastic. Scans have shown greater activity in areas of the brain associated with calmness and pain suppression, and less activity in areas of the brain associated with obsession and anxiety. So what now? This happens to be my favorite current picture of my husband. And if you told me 10 years ago that I would love looking at a picture of him in a 5mm wetsuit on the back of a boat about to go scuba diving, which I love to do, when he's in the Florida Keys and I'm at home looking after 3 kids, I would have said, no way, I am never going to be wanting to look at that picture. But now when I look at it, I think about all of the other reasons I fell in love with him. You know, his adventure, his ability to teach me things, his curiosity for the world, his wanting to push himself, his work ethic. This is actually a dive boat, and he's actually going to be working. It makes me more open and receptive to him and to being loving with him when he's forgotten to pick the kids up from school and they get dumped into aftercare, or when he's forgotten that it's trash day. It really helps me to remember the other reasons the other motivations I have for wanting to be physically close with him. And I'm no saint, I forget all the time, so I put this on as my screensaver, and every time it comes up, I think, wow, there are lots of reasons why I'm still in love with that man.